Welcome into the LSU Sports Insider podcast. Today is Thursday, December the 19th. I'm Zach Ewing with Scott Rabelais, just a two-man show today. It is kind of a weird calendar spot for us, so we decided to sneak in the LSU gymnastics season preview episode. And for those of you who may be new to the show or new to following LSU and say, a whole show on gymnastics? Well, yes, a whole show on the only program to win a national championship last school year at LSU. So
that's right.
The defending national champion LSU gymnasts had, what do they call it? Gymnastics 101 they had Monday night, just kind of their inter-squad scrimmage, get everybody used to how the routines work and how the scoring works and things like that, and get to know some of the new gymnasts.
Yeah, as their annual exhibition meet. Is there one time that they're able to go in the PMAC and get used to the equipment in there, get used to the space of it? You know, they have a big gym. They have a tremendous gym practice facility, but it's much different in a vast arena like that. So that's the one chance they get to go in there, and then they'll be back in 3 weeks. January 3rd is their season opener against Iowa State, and then they're off and running with the 2025 season in pursuit of protecting the crown. As there was a message board right by the floor exercise mat on the during the meet, protecting the crown. That's kind of their mission statement this year.
Yeah, and you get like the stick crowns and stuff. It's like a whole gymnastics thing. So they certainly have the firepower possibly to do it. We'll talk about that also. Obviously, it's never easy to win a national championship, but they do have the firepower to do it. And so we'll talk about that. We'll kind of go into who they've got coming back, some of the newcomers who could make an impact. Also got a little football talk snuck in there for you at the end. We'll talk some CFP. Obviously, we've got our eye on the LSU football transfer portal as well. We had a show on that on Monday with Wilson and Koki. You can check that out on the YouTube channel. We'll probably do another one next Monday and kind of wrap up portal season. LSU added Nick Anderson, the receiver from Oklahoma. I mean, they continue to add a lot of talent. So we're going to wait till Monday on that and get to a dead period, take a deep breath, and reset what LSU's roster looks like. But for today, it's a gymnastics show. It's brought to you by Waste Pro. Tiger fans, if you're planning a tailgate or event, keep your guests comfortable with portable toilets from Waste Pro. Call 225-744-6400 and mention the LSU Sports Insider for a special offer. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will dig into the 2025 LSU gymnastics team.
Experience the convenience and cleanliness that Waste Pro brings to Mardi Gras, LSU tailgates, and festivals with our top-notch portable toilet services. Perfect for large crowds and community events. Join the countless satisfied families and organizers who trust Waste Pro to keep their gatherings spotless and sanitary. Discover more about our services and make your next event a success at wasteprousa.com.
Football fans, with the Caesars Sportsbook app, you can be in the game all the time. Seeking instant action? Quick Picks offers you the most popular games and markets already built for you and ready to bet. Experience the thrill when you stack your bets to create a super parlay. Build bets for your favorite teams and players across multiple games. This season, don't just watch the game. Download Caesars Sportsbook and experience the game like never before.
All right, welcome back to the LSU Sports Insider. Zach Ewing along with Scott Rabelais talking some gymnastics. And we'll start, Rab, with, I think it's a perfect place to start. It's today's Star Player segment, proudly sponsored by Waste Pro. Ensure your tailgate or event is a hit with portable and clean and convenient toilets from Waste Pro. Rent yours today. And look, with LSU gymnastics, they have a lot of talented gymnasts. It's one of the places to go if you're a gymnast looking, to compete in college. But they all kind of pale in comparison to what Haley Bryant has done. So you start with her. Aaliyah Finnegan is also back. She would be the star at any other program. But
true.
We start with Haley Bryant. I mean, you were reading me some stats off the air. She was unreal last year.
Yeah, she's the biggest star. She's not only the best gymnast on this team. She's, I think, already cemented herself as the best gymnast ever at LSU, and one of the greatest athletes ever at LSU in any sport. She's coming back for her fifth year. I think a lot of people thought, well, maybe she'll go out on top with the team winning the championship, and she won the NCAA all-around title. But she just had this amazing year. She did 62 routines throughout the season. 56 of them were 990 or better. So 990 is very good. And then 995 is great. And then, of course, a 10 is speaks for itself. So 90% of her routines were 990 or better, and half of her routines, 31 of the 62, were 995 or better. That includes 8 perfect 10s, which includes a career grand slam. She did a 10 on every event, which is the gym slam, and the first gymnast at LSU ever to do that. She's got 94 titles. She's got 27 All-American awards. She's 20 wins short of the LSU all-time record for individual wins, held by Ashley Claire Kearney, and she's 10 tens short, kind of perfect in that regard, mathematically, of the all-time NCAA record for perfect tens, which is 28 for her career. So we'll see if she can get there. But I don't think she came back for numbers. She just came back because she wants to do it one more time. Like, gymnastics is a sport where you're done. There's no senior tour. There's no pro tour. You know, if you're not going to the Olympics, which I don't expect she will try for the Olympics in 2028, that's it. You're done. And she wanted that experience one more time, and LSU was very grateful that she did.
Well, and to your point, like, Olympians are younger in gymnastics. Once you're out of college, that kind of is the end of your career. So it's really a swan song for her.
LSU had one of their recruits, Hesley Rivera, who was 16, who was on the Olympic team this year in Paris for the U.S. and won the team gold medal. And she's coming 3 years from now, to compete. So
right.
It's
college is the end, not the beginning.
Exactly.
For most gymnasts.
Right.
Yeah. Now you mentioned these stats to me, and those of you who follow gymnastics carefully know better than I do how good those numbers are. But having literally 50% of your routines be 995 or better, for those who aren't as aware, that the comparison I made, it's like a cheat code. It's like having a guard who shoots a high volume of 3-pointers in basketball and can make 60% of them or something. I mean, it's just, you can't compete with it if you're the other team. You're almost starting behind from the beginning when you compete against a Haley Bryant.
Yeah, I mean, when if 90% of the time she's doing 990 or better, so when you put her out there, and she's going to be doing all 4 events in most of their meets, vault, bars, beam, and floors. So you're getting Jay Clark can pretty much count on a minimum 990 from her for all of those events, and you start stacking those up, and you only have 24 routines in a meet. You only need, if you get 10 more of those, then you're probably going to win most meets. So, and she's more than that. She gives them the maturity and the leadership and the obviously the experience that. She's a whole package. She's an impressive young lady, and if you're an LSU fan, if you've never seen gymnastics, if you can squeeze into the PMAC, because they set a record for season ticket sales of about 9,000 this year, plus student ticket stuff. If you can squeeze into the PMAC this year, they only have 5 home meets plus 1 at the River Center. Try to go see her perform, because you're going to want to say, I saw one of the best LSU athletes ever in her last season.
That's right. Yeah, and then kind of the other half of this equation, and I don't want to give her the short shrift here either. Aaliyah Finnegan, she was an Olympian. She competed for the Philippines in Paris.
Right.
And as I said, she would probably be the star at pretty much any other gymnastics program in the country. She kind of plays second fiddle to Haley Bryant here, but Aaliyah Finnegan also extremely talented and accomplished gymnast.
Oh, yes. I mean, yeah, she was an Olympian. Her mother was from the Philippines, so she was able to represent their country. And, hey, she didn't medal in Paris, but, hey, she made it. She's an Olympian the rest of her life. She was the NCAA floor champion at the championships in April in Fort Worth when LSU won the team title. And so she's got it all, too. She's the younger sister of Sarah Finnegan, who's one of LSU's all-time greats, who's just, I think, 1 win ahead of Haley Bryant. And that gives them a tremendous 1-2 punch. In the last couple of years, you think of it as being Haley Bryant and Kaya Johnson, the senior who came back from an Achilles tendon tear and came back last year. She could have come back for a 5th year, but she decided, no, I'm done. I've done what I wanted to do, going out on top. But now it's probably Finnegan and Bryant is that 1-2 punch that any school would love to have. And yeah, you're right. She could be the star in her own right, but she and she had the performance that clinched the national championship for LSU. People may remember they had to finish on beam, which is such a dangerous event, and they needed like a 9.625, and she had a 9.95. She just knocked it out of the park, and they won easily.
It's a lot easier to do that when it's not, hey, if you fall, we might lose the national championship. So just don't do that off the balance beam. I mean, so right. A lot of pressure. She's obviously been there before. What about other returners who will kind of anchor the Tigers this year?
Well, you could make the argument that Connor McLean is the best pure talent on the team. I mean, Connor McClain won the 2022 U.S. National All-Around title. That's the event that Simone Biles has won like 8 times or something like that. So it was when Simone was out of competition, yes, but she still had to win it against some future Olympians and past Olympians and that sort of thing. So she won that title. She won the SEC beam title with a perfect 10 at the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans in March. It was the only 10 of the meet. She was trying to make the U.S. Olympic team, and then she suffered an Achilles tendon tear at a meet in Hartford, Connecticut in May. The end of those hopes. Jay Clark, and we'll never know, right? But Jay Clark thinks that given some of the other gymnasts who got hurt leading up to the Olympics, that she had a real shot to make the U.S. team, one of those 5. And that's that 5th spot went to Hesley Rivera, their recruit.
Yeah. Well, while we're on the topic, let's go ahead and do our injury report brought to you by the Baton Rouge Clinic, because that is who kind of we're featuring here, and that's Connor McClain. And as you mentioned, I mean, she tore her Achilles in May. It's December. Anybody who follows sports knows that's pretty quick to get back, especially for a sport like gymnastics where you're stressing those tendons, you're stressing those joints.
Yes.
She did perform at Gymnastics 101.
Correct.
It just from reading your story, which you can read on theadvocate.com/LSU, it doesn't sound like she's quite 100% yet, but maybe that's not the point yet. The point is to get her 100% for the springtime.
Yeah, just the fact that she was out there performing. I hesitate to say competing because it was an exhibition, right? They're just out there to, to work the kinks out. But that she was out there and did uneven bars and balance beam says a lot. Just coming, 7 months after her injury, those she had to have surgery, right? But she's looked good. These are what they call the non-leg events. She was injured warming up for floor in Hartford, and that's when you really stress the Achilles tendons and stuff like that, floor and vault. And so she's not doing those events. She didn't do those events the other night. She's not scheduled to do them right away. They hope at some point in the season, later in the season, as you get closer to SEC championships, the NCAA regionals and then nationals, that she'll be able to do some of those things. But just getting 2 events from Connor McClain is great because she's great at them. Like I said, she had a perfect 10 on beam, the hardest event, you could say, at the SECs. And she's a tremendously talented gymnast. And if they can just keep her healthy, then it's a 1-2-3 punch with Bryant and Finnegan and her. Some of the other gymnasts you mentioned, let's go back to injuries. There was one really great gymnast, Zoe Miller, who was also trying to make the U.S. Olympic team, one of the freshmen. She's going to miss the whole year with injuries. And then Kalia Lincoln, who was a 2-time Pan American gold medalist. If people think I'm just throwing out these accolades, it's because they have these accolades. These LSU gymnasts. She's probably only going to do vault this year because she's got a bad shoulder problem, but she can still do vault. Some things stress the body in certain areas more than others in certain events. So those would be the biggest ones. And then Ilona Shenikova is coming back for a 6th year. She missed all of last year with ankle injury, and they're kind of bringing her back slowly. But she'll be a competitor, filling in here or there, but 1 or 2 events per meet.
Yeah, and there's no doubt you have to have depth. Injuries are a part of gymnastics, maybe more than any other sport. I mean, it's difficult to get through a season without pretty much everybody getting some bumps and bruises and nights where they need to take it easy or even take the night off.
Yeah, we may see, like I said, Haley's an all-arounder. Aaliyah Finnegan's an all-arounder, but you might see a night where they perform only 3 events because maybe take off floor because they have a lot of depth on floor, so they could do that. But yeah, it's a sport. It's a little bit of a mix of athletics and showmanship. It's go out there with a smile on your face, even though if something hurts, you got a brace on your elbow or your knee or something like that, but you got to go out there and sell the performance, not just do this great athletic achievement, but to sell it to the judges, and don't show any pain. I don't show any fear. They're tough athletes. I know people who say, "Oh, they're young ladies in these glittery outfits and everything." No, they're really tough athletes, and as tough as any people I've covered in all my years at LSU. Quite honestly,
you go do a flip that high, land on an inflamed knee, and smile about it. Like
exactly
it's
right.
Not easy to do.
Exactly right.
Today's show is brought to you by the Baton Rouge Clinic, your trusted healthcare provider in the heart of Baton Rouge. Whether you are in need of primary care, specialist services, or urgent care, The Baton Rouge Clinic has you covered with a team of dedicated and experienced professionals. Visit BatonRougeClinic.com to learn more or to schedule your appointment today. The Baton Rouge Clinic, caring for generations. And Rab, to add to the depth that you need, LSU, Jay Clark brings in these tremendous recruiting classes every year. And this year he's got a pair of freshmen who are two of the best, and they're the next wave. And that's going to be what we're going to call our recruiting segment. It's proudly sponsored by Associated Grocers. Join our team and support the success of local independent retail grocers. Apply today for available positions at Associated Grocers. Caitlin Cho, who's from the Las Vegas area, comes in, and then Lexi Zeiss.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I was going to get that wrong. Who I believe is from the Minneapolis area.
No, Omaha.
Omaha, I'm sorry. Okay. I think she trained with a club in Minnesota. Maybe that's where I'm getting it from. Both very talented. Both have competed with Team USA at like junior Pan American games and the sort of, and they came in, especially Caitlin Cho came in Monday night and showed she's going to be a part of this rotation this year.
She was very impressive, I thought, especially on her vault looked really strong. She was she did all 4 events. She's someone Jay. I always kind of chuckle when I say about Jay Clark, LSU's coach. He's not a glass half full kind of guy. You really have to impress Jay, or why he's not going to just say everything's wonderful, business is great.
He ain't handing out perfect tens.
No, he's not, and he's got a lot of faith in her. She says she's come in healthy, unlike a couple of the other athletes that we've mentioned. She's come in very healthy. She's managed her game in her junior level gymnastics leading up to college, and I think she's someone. He's going to say, who am I going to see from this class right away in the lineup? You're going to see Caitlin Cho in the lineup for sure. And Lexi Zeiss as well, I think. She's another one who I think they're two of the most promising freshmen in the class, aside from someone like Zoe Miller, who is tremendously talented as well, just came in with a lot of injury issues, and then Kalia Lincoln, who's limited. It was the number 1 class in the country for gymnastics recruiting this past year, which is saying something considering that there was all this intrigue around the time of LSU winning the national championship. Georgia was trying to get Jay Clark and members of his staff to come back to Georgia, where he went to school and where he used to coach. And LSU stepped up to the plate to get them all to stay. Him and Garrett and Courtney McCool Griffith, 2 of his assistants. So it's a very good recruiting effort by all of them. The program kind of sells itself a little bit at this point, and you can see going into the future, they have a U.S. Olympic gold medalist who'll be here in a few years.
They do. They also have someone who is top of the NIL market on this team, who we have not mentioned yet.
Top of the NIL market in college
NIL
athletics,
market, period.
About.
And we're talking about Olivia Dunne, of course. You may be surprised we've gone 20 minutes here without mentioning her, but look, from a purely gymnastics standpoint, she's never been the headliner of this team. Now, she is the gymnast that a lot of people go to see. She is the gymnast that people know her name. She's obviously dating Paul Skeens, who's the Major League Baseball Rookie of the Year. She has her own social media business and does extremely well for herself. I mean, all of these things. What about from a gymnastics perspective? It sounds like she may be adding a little bit and contributing a little bit more in different areas this year.
We saw her do 3 events the other night, bars, beam, and floor. I was just telling you off the air, I don't know if I've ever seen her do vault. I'm sure I have, but I can't recall. People say, well, she doesn't do anything. Well, that's not true. A couple of years ago, in 2023, she was kind of limited by some leg issues. Nothing bad, just kind of like shin splints, that kind of thing. That kind of limited her. Last year, she was in on 1 or 2 events just about every meet. She does have an All-American honor to her name. She can she might say in one of her commercials, "I'm All-American gymnast Olivia Dunne," and it's not. That's not faking it. She really is. So she's a good, solid role player, for this team. She's not a one of the top 5 starters or something like that, but she's someone you're likely to see in every meet, and certainly. And she's one of the people they often turn to if they have to pull out of the lineup. You can pull someone at the last minute out of a lineup if there's an injury or just their warm-up routine go well. And she's someone they'll often turn to, especially on floor, to fill in. They did that a couple of times last year. So, yeah, I would expect to see her. And look, is it good for her brand to come back? for a fifth year at LSU? Yes, it is. It definitely is. To have another year of saying, I'm an All-American college athlete, and all that other stuff aside, the whole the NIL stuff, the commercials, the Sports Illustrated swimsuit photo shoots, being LSU's version of Taylor and Travis, with Paul Skeens, all that aside, they'll tell you around LSU. There's kind of two personas there. There's Olivia Dunne, the NIL person,
Queen,
and there's Olivia Dunne, or Liv, who's the LSU gymnast, and she's the one who still likes being in that cocoon of the team and just being part of the team. And I wasn't surprised that she came back for another year. I wasn't surprised at all.
And I gotta say, you can't fake that in this sport. If you're going to be called on to go do a floor routine for a national championship contender and they're counting scores and everything, you've got to work your tail off to be ready to do that. You can't just go out there and roll around like the Australian breakdancer lady at the Olympics. Like you better be prepared to put together a good routine.
You can't be Eddie the Eagle, right? Yeah,
right. So I think sometimes it gets a little bit lost in the fact that does the actual athletic accomplishment match the hype that she gets in the social media thing? Probably not, but it's not like she's not an athlete. It's not like she's not a high-level gymnast. I mean, so you can definitely swing that too far.
No, it's an excellent point. Like I said, they have 24 scores in a meet, and you're not going to send someone out there that the best you can do is a 9.75.
Right.
It's like, oh, that's all Liv can do. That's all. No, she's consistently in that 9.8, 9.85, 9.90 range, maybe a 9.925 once in a while on floor if she really hits something. A good solid, singles hitter. She'll go 2 for 4, with a couple of base hits, for you. And that's kind of
not against Paul Skeens. She wouldn't.
No, definitely not. No, I wouldn't say. But she's is she going to get a perfect 10? No, I wouldn't say that. She's going to do that, but she's going to give you a good solid performance. And then you only have 24 scores. You're not going to send someone out there against SEC competition when everyone's ranked in the top 25. Just to throw away a routine because she's famous. No, they're not going to do that.
Quick note on the SEC. LSU's competition both to win the SEC title and the national title. Who's at the top of the list?
Well, obviously, with Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC, Texas does not play gymnastics, but Oklahoma does. And they are, despite LSU's title, they are still the program to beat. They're preseason number 1, LSU's preseason number 2. Florida's right behind them. These are all schools that were in the NCAA finals last year and are expected to be there again. Oklahoma just fell apart, frankly, on vault. If I can tell a quick story, but last year's meet in Fort Worth, LSU was in the first semifinal. Top 2 teams advanced, so they advanced. So I go to the press conference. I'm coming back. I got my head down. I'm typing up the scores and stuff like that. And the second semifinal is going on. And there's 3 red teams out there: Oklahoma, Utah, and Alabama. And I forget the other team was out there. So I'm kind of not paying attention, and I hear some oohs and ahs, gasps, but I'm finally I look up and I see Oklahoma's got this dreadful score. They're like a 147 something, on vault. I asked the writer next to me, what happened? They had 2 falls. I mean, it was their worst score in like a decade in anything, and it knocked them out. And it was very similar to when LSU won the women's basketball title in Dallas in 2023, when South Carolina lost to Iowa in the semifinal. LSU had won the first one, and the door just swung wide for LSU. Here's your opportunity to finally win one, and they did. And that's just what happened with gymnastics. Not that LSU might not have won anyway if Oklahoma was in the final, because they did score over 198 in the final. They had a tremendous performance. But Oklahoma's got a little motivation. They got to prove themselves in the SEC. It's going to be tougher for Oklahoma. They've dominated the Big 12, obviously, over the years. But you got to do meet in and meet out. And they come here this year for the meet. LSU's got to go there for a 4-team meet to Oklahoma City that they're going to be in second week of the season. But Oklahoma comes here in February, and I imagine they're going to be hanging from the catwalk in the PMAC. That's going to be a full house. It should be 1 versus 2. And we're talking not rankings in gymnastics are always done by scores, so we'll see how they do it scoring wise. But it'll be tremendous. And but yeah, every week is great competition in the SEC. Just about anyone can beat you.
I'll tell you what, that Oklahoma LSU gymnastics meet, that's your LSU Alabama football. That's your LSU Kentucky basketball. I mean, that is the LSU Vanderbilt baseball.
I can see students camping out on the ramp of the PMAC to get into the student section for that one.
That is a marquee hot ticket matchup. So definitely keep an eye on that. That is our gymnastics preview. I do want to let you know, Tiger fans, Associated Grocers is hiring. Join a team committed to the success of independent retail grocers. Apply today at Associated Grocers and be part of something great. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to get this man's opinion on the college football playoff, the first round games this weekend, also kind of the overall picture. So we'll just have a little football segment on the end of this coming up right after this break.
You know how far I've gone, now I'm home again. I'm feeling more alive these days than I've ever been.
At the Baton Rouge Clinic, our sole focus is to provide exceptional health care for your entire family so that you can get back to doing what you love most. We are caring for generations.
You gave me love, gave me love.
Since 1988, Classic Industrial Services, Inc. has led the industry in specialty contracting. From thermal insulation to scaffolding, coatings, and beyond, we cover it all. Every minute matters in our commitment to quality and safety. We're here to serve with roofing, siding, heat trace, and refractory services. Visit classicindustrial.com for more information.
All right, welcome back to the LSU Sports Insider. Zach Ewing along with Scott Rabel. I hope you enjoyed our LSU gymnastics preview. We'll check back in with the Gym Tigers. Is that what they call them? Or do they have like a pithy name for themselves? The Gym Tigers?
No.
The National Champion Tigers. How about that?
Yeah.
We'll check back in with them periodically.
The banner droppers. They're going to be
Yeah.
dropping a big banner. I told Jay, I said, you better get a banner as big as Kim Mulkey has for women's basketball up there by the American flag. So we'll see. I would imagine it will be.
Oh, you can't be keeping up with the Joneses when it's Kim Mulkey. You gotta match it. Okay, we're gonna end the show with a little college football playoff talk. The Queen of Baton Rouge proudly sponsors the LSU Sports Insiders sports betting segment. Experience the thrill of game day at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktails, your premier destination for elevated sports entertainment. Rab, we have the National Championship odds up here, the four favorites, and they are not the same four teams that have the buys. Of course, Boise State and Arizona State are actually the long shots of the group. But Oregon is the favorite at plus 360, along with Texas, same price. And then it's Ohio State plus 475 and Georgia plus 500. Do you think one of those four teams wins the national title, or are you going further down the board?
I don't have a lot of faith in Texas. Haven't just seen them in person. Their offense is not clicking. Their offense is just not clicking. I mean, they're moving the ball between the 20s and they're just not cashing in on points. I like Notre Dame at this point.
They're 7-1.
They've got Indiana at home. I know Indiana's had a great season, but they're playing in South Bend. That should give them an advantage. They run the ball well. They stop the run, and then if they win, they're going to play Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, which looks like they're going to be without Carson Beck. Yep. And so I think that puts Georgia in a very precarious position. I know Gunnar Stockton did a great job for them in the championship game in that upset of Texas. But he also threw just an awful interception late in the game that allowed Texas to drive and kick the field goal to tie the game before send it into overtime. But I like Notre Dame's chances, but it's hard not to go with Oregon. But I think back to they had a couple of close games during the year. They could have lost to Ohio State at home very easily in the regular season. I don't think they're infallible. I think what we've all thought all season, there's no perfect team. There's no great team out there. There's no perfect team out there. There's no 2019 LSU or 2020 Alabama in this field. So some upsets would not be surprising at all. But it's hard not to go with Oregon. In the final analysis, it's hard not to go with Oregon and say they're the most complete team.
I will throw out an argument for Ohio State. And the only reason I say that from a betting perspective is you're getting a discount at them. You can walk into the Queen Casino, their DraftKings, plus 475. And, I think the question marks with this team is, where is Ryan Day at with his job security? Where is the team at morale-wise? They lost to Michigan. How could they do that? All those sorts of things. I still feel, though, like this is the most talented team in the country. Mm-hmm. And that if they can get it rolling in this little, like, almost month-long break they'll have had by the time Saturday rolls around, they play Tennessee, you're getting a discount there. And we kind of talked about the flaws the other contenders have. If they get a second bite at Oregon, they almost beat them out in Eugene. This game, if they faced them again, it would be in the Rose Bowl. No, that's not right, is it?
Yes. No, it is. Yeah.
It is. Okay, yeah, that is the 8-9 matchup. So they
would play like a classic Rose Bowl.
They play in the Rose Bowl. And all of a sudden they could get rolling. I still think they have the most talent. You're getting a little bit of a discount. So from a sports betting perspective, I don't hate a plus 475 on Ohio State.
It's such a fascinating game. Obviously, the four first-round games, they're all intriguing. I think Clemson, Texas is intriguing, and just Indiana because of the novelty of it. Because we all thought, right, but for the first college football 12-team playoff, Indiana, SMU, and Arizona State would be in, and Alabama would not.
Yeah, which of these teams, Ole Miss, Alabama, or Indiana would be it? It's Indiana.
Exactly. But you keep hearing, I've heard people say, it might have been better for Ohio State if they were going on the road, for this playoff game. That's kind of bad, when just like the fan base is like this close to turning on them.
They can't fall behind 14-3 in that game, or it could get
it could definitely get ugly. And Tennessee fans, I hear, are buying a lot of tickets to be in Columbus. Psychologically, it's an intriguing game that Ryan Day could have so much success as he's had. I mean, doesn't he have like one loss in the Big Ten aside from Michigan or something like that in his career? Or is it something crazy like that?
He's got like 6 losses and 4 of them are Michigan.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So, it's such an intriguing game that if he loses this game, I heard someone on the radio say today, he could. Some national guy say, he could lose his job or say, I'm out of here. That's just fascinating to me. But I do agree with you. I think they are the purely most talented team in the country. But there's a lot of mental baggage there, it seems.
That is true. So that's what you got to try to gauge as you're betting on it. And Rab, since you brought it up, let's go into these first round matchups. Mm-hmm. All 4 of them have spreads of at least 7 points. Mm-hmm. Ohio State's a 7-point favorite, and then Notre Dame's a 7-point favorite at DraftKings over Indiana. So those are the closest. Then I think it's 8.5 Penn State over SMU, and then Texas is 10.5 or 11-point favorite over Clemson. They're the biggest favorite. If you had to pick one of the underdogs to win outright this weekend, who are you going with?
I want to say Tennessee, but we were just talking about this. I'm going to say SMU, because Penn State, I just don't have any faith in Penn State. They win all these games and they don't beat the ranked teams. They don't beat the and like, you say what you want about SMU. Do they deserve to be in? Do they not? Obviously, it came down to them in Alabama for the last spot, and it's certainly if there's controversy, that's mainly where it lies. But I just don't have a whole lot of faith in the Nittany Lions to get it done against a quality team that's obviously had a good season and could have won the ACC championship for the same price. If the guy misses the field goal, maybe they go down and win in overtime, the long field goal for Clemson. So they're all interesting in some way. I think Texas is vulnerable to Clemson a little bit. I like Clemson's form coming in here better. Indiana, Notre Dame, you think it's Notre Dame, but Indiana has confounded us all, going 11-1 so far this season, and then Ohio State, Tennessee is fascinating. But I would take SMU. Just for the sake of what we're talking about, I would take SMU.
That's the team we talked on Monday about this, and that's the team that I took. I think Penn State, they don't win these big games. It just doesn't feel like it, and I think SMU is a live dog there. They kind of got a second lease on life after the ACC championship. So fascinating games. We're going to be back on this podcast feed on Monday. As promised, we'll do some LSU football transfer portal talk. We'll kind of wrap things up. The first window of the transfer portal will be at an end. I think a dead period starts Sunday, goes through the end of the year. So not to say LSU will be done in the portal, but it's kind of a natural stopping point to talk about it. So we'll do that on Monday, and we will also react to those college football playoff first round games and start to talk a little bit more about LSU Baylor in the Texas Bowl, which is the next week. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the like button if you haven't already. Make sure you have that subscribe button checked, sign up for notifications so you do get notified when we go live. You can also watch us on Facebook or listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Our producer today was Alex Lee. He's Scott Rabelais. I'm Zach Ewing. Thanks for watching the LSU Sports Insider.